It's a countdown. Let's go back to the timer. Okay. Hello and welcome to Squares TV Application Lab number 29, where I guess we go back into original. We're going to use Zoom's noise reduction today. We talk about Shoot, we talk about Video Pencil, we talk about Beat Sheet. That is what we do here. And I have lost my HUD. If I can just bring that back again. Here we go. It's Ecamm. It's putting things in front of other things that it shouldn't be putting things in front of. That's weird. Okay, so I am broadcasting on my own camera here, and then so YouTube's going out on this camera, and then the other stuff is coming other ways. This is going to annoy me if I don't get my layers right. Ecamm Live, always coming with the surprises. You never quite know what it's going to do. Right. Questions. If there's anything you want to cover in this session, put your hand up in Zoom or ask a question in the YouTube chat. That's always good. And today I am running, as always, everything through BeatSheet Studio, which is in beta. I am using the virtual camera and mic in Ecamm Live to stream and record and pin comments, but everything else is coming through this. To be honest, I was going to kind of wing this one a bit more, but I had 10 minutes as I was waiting for the countdown, and it was just so easy to add some notes into BeatSheet Studio that I just, I've ended up with a bit more structure than I was expecting. So we'll plow through. These things they're supposed to be 45 minutes. Sometimes they're half an hour. It all sort of depends on how much I get in chat and on Zoom. So first up, thanks to everybody who has reported bugs in GitHub and put threads up on Discord. It's really, really useful to get all that feedback, all that really good testing. So I can really, I see people are using it the way I want people to use it. I see they're discovering things. I see, you're noticing little usability things. Well, we've made a lot of progress on the major bugs. It's feeling pretty good to me at the moment, especially I put up a build this afternoon, so if you're not running that, try and get that latest one today, because there's a lot of just little bits and bobs. That said, there are still quite a lot of like just the whole card management, like, you know, there's a lot of sort of what you click on and then what happens stuff that still needs to be, I need to sort of like power through and work it all out. But I have been sort of just fighting with the more sort of foundational issues. But I think we're just about there with that. It's feeling pretty good. The virtual mic feels solid. The, you know, and the camera feels pretty good as well. The performance, like literally I'm at, you know, yeah, the performance is looking a lot better. Like I think we're definitely like ready for 1.0 with performance. So yeah. So I thought, just at the risk of giving myself PTSD over what's been going on over the last few days, I'm going to just take you through like a couple of the bugs that a couple of the things that I've been working on, and maybe give you a little bit of a technical just overview of what was involved in that, because it's been pretty weird and like pretty intense. So the first thing we've done, this was actually like relatively straightforward. If you have the iPad, if you've got Video Pencil Test Flight and you've got BeatSheet Studio Beta, you're going to see that it now will ask you if you want to connect to the Mac. So if you had more than one machine in a room, both running BeatSheet Studio, both two people wanting to run iPads with Video Pencil on it, that is now going to just pop up a thing, and that is going to say, and then you get a choice of connect once, always connect to this, block this, or like it's connect once, always connect, don't connect, you know, like, or block this one. So you can either save your preferences or like sort of do it, you know, every time. And then just what was involved in that? Just finding the right name for the computer was the main thing with that. So I've employed an Apple network feature where you can send a little bit of a payload with the initial connection, and I'm just sort of leaning on that. So when I first reach out between the devices, I give it the name of the device that's trying to connect, and I just sort of like find that in Video Pencil. Doesn't make any difference to the other apps that it might connect to, because they're not going to try and load that. But when Video Pencil gets that, it knows to, you know, the new version knows to just sort of look at that name and then pop up the confirmation. So let me know how you get on with that if you get a chance. The next thing, a major thing that I have done, is that I've been meaning to get to, because I just didn't know why like, you know, nearly every time it was just, I would try to use the virtual mic in Zoom every week, and it just wouldn't have it. So it would work for me in, like, I was recording it in Ableton Live. It was working in these other things, but I sort of tried to jump on the call each week, and it was like, no, not going to happen. So I did some spelunking, which I'm going to take you into, if I can do this. So this is my little, you know, I sort of, one of the reasons I jumped into this was I saw that it was using quite a lot of CPU to do the audio. And I just started using Freeform to kind of like take screenshots and add notes. So I noticed that the LUFS meter was doing something weird. I tidied that up. I noticed that the camera feed was, I'm going to run out of battery on this iPad because it refuses to charge from my Mac. I noticed that I was allocating a lot of buffers and things. So I was doing, this was sort of like half, I was doing sort of performance checking and trying to optimize that, but at the same time I was discovering that some stuff was to do with audio. But then the interesting thing that I was looking at here was I was sort of recording a bit of audio, and then finding, like, just actually going in, seeing if like there was some number here, like what is the number here? How many samples is it off by when it has these glitches? So you see, like, what was happening was I put a sine wave through it, so you'd get this smooth wave, and then suddenly it would be interrupted by another bit of the wave. And I eventually discovered that what that was to do with was it was copying. It was sort of taking this and sort of like repeating it over here, taking this and repeating it over here. And so that just meant it was this really choppy thing. I then realized that it wasn't the same in every app, and then I realized that it was related to the buffer size, and then eventually, sort of by going through these, I saw, it's definitely something to do with my weird buffers, definitely something like that. I've done something wrong. And so what I ended up doing was, there's an open source project that gives you a virtual audio cable that, is what I tend to fall back on. But because the code is public, I was able to look at that, and actually they've used some Apple sample code, which I have started my project with. So what I ended up doing was taking their code, pasting it on top of my code, and seeing what the differences were, seeing what they'd actually done to make their thing work. And just by steady process of elimination, going over this, I spent 3 or 4 hours, 5, 6, I think, going through this sort of 5,000 line file, trying to figure out what exactly they were doing to sort of get this stable audio buffer. And then I sort of found the bit. It was actually only one function that just kind of creates a ring buffer, and then it sort of like allocates samples to the right position in that buffer so that you don't get those discontinuities. So what that means for you is I'm pretty happy with the virtual audio cable. And then so the latest version, it won't like prompt you to update it. So you just, if you are on BeatSheet Studio, if you in the release notes will mention that there's been changes to that, and just sort of ask you to reinstall the virtual mic. And then just out of that, there was a bit of feedback about like the volume levels, and I just sort of went in again. So there's been another thing since I got that feedback. I've just sort of removed all the volume capabilities, the input and output volume capabilities from that virtual audio cable, because really that's something that you should set up your mix in BeatSheet Studio and not have to kind of like worry about whether it's been turned up or down in your other software. If you see green in BeatSheet Studio, it's green in Zoom, it's green in Ecamm Live. Like, you shouldn't have to actually be like pushing faders at the other end as well. So that's feeling pretty good. I am being technical. I do not care. So next up, I got an email last week. Someone saying, "Oh, it's got this bloom on the." Every so often someone complains about the sort of bloom effect that happens where you draw a line in Video Pencil and it's like thick for a bit and then it fades and then it's thin again. And this came from just the fact that I couldn't figure out how to get a real time. So basically, I've said this before. So I'm using Pencil Kit. It's an Apple framework that lets you draw, like create a canvas that you can draw. But that's quite opaque. Like it gives me the ability to sort of extract the drawing after you lift up the pen, but not before. So what I was doing was independently tracking all of your drawing and then constructing my own strokes, and then sort of mirroring those up while someone's pen was down, and then sort of like falling back to the real one once they've lifted their pen up. But it wasn't, I wasn't able to sort of fully reverse engineer this thing, like the azimuth, the pressure, all these different factors, the speed that you're drawing at. There's so many factors that go into that perfect line that I just wasn't really able or like interested in reproducing that. But it just meant that it was always a bit suboptimal. And if you were using Ecamm or OBS, then you were seeing that thick line on your iPad as well as you were drawing, and it could be quite distracting. And so I got that email and I was like, let's have another look into this. Let's have another crack. And what I am quite delighted to be able to show is, watch this, stroke that as I draw, it reflects the pressure with which I am drawing. For the first time ever, Video Pencil Preview is actually like a preview of what's on the iPad screen. And this was not easy. So I was literally going through private frameworks, sort of looking through everything I could think of to figure out what what Apple might be doing under the hood, and if there was any way I could sort of like get my sticky fingers in there and get hold of it. So what I discovered, what I figured out how to do, and I went along a lot of other paths on the way to this, but what I realised is when Apple creates this drawing layer that it gives you, what it's actually doing on the inside is it does create a metal layer. And that is something I can actually, like, without violating any like private frameworks thing, I can actually, like, once that's ready, I can actually grab that. And then internally, that's got, and the way that we render is, the way that you render in Metal is you create a buffer or a texture. So the texture is like everything that you're seeing now is like part of a texture. So you're sort of drawing pixels to a texture. And the way Macs and iPads stay fast is they create 3 buffers that are attached to this metal layer, and they're sort of cycling through these 3 buffers as you go and sort of making sure that they've always got something to draw on, that they're always immediately, 60, 120 frames a second, they're able to sort of update that as you draw on it. And there's a function, a public function on here called like next drawable, which maybe I should have live titles to that. Next drawable. No. Next drawable. Is live title switched off? I can't remember. I was doing something with that. Anyway, I realised I can also get my fingers in there and sort of grab references to those textures. But like, it's not an exact science. So if once the drawing starts, maybe Apple is drawing to this one, but maybe I can grab this one and this one. And then next time drawing starts, maybe like Apple is using this one, but I can like grab, but now I can grab this one, right? Like, so now I've got all 3, and I can just sort of hold on to those. And then what I'm doing, because I've grabbed those as textures, whenever I render to the output, I'm just like pasting on the contents of those textures on top of the output. And then that just means that you're seeing the real thing. And there's some subtleties to that. If you clear, then maybe not all 3 have been cleared. So I'm sort of manually clearing those textures if you press clear or if you press undo, to just make sure that we don't get like this flickery state where it's like layering up multiple things on top of them. But there's a couple of edge cases, but actually I think it's feeling all right. I think this is a great improvement over what we had before, but it's on the test flight beta. But I would love, please pay attention to what's coming out on the desktop as you draw. Especially Ecamm users, you'll just notice this anyway. I think it'll be a quality of life improvement. But keep an eye out for like weirdness, and because I have found that sometimes it just starts making more and more textures, and I don't know why, and I don't know how to stop it, and I don't know what causes that, but I still seem to be able to kind of keep drawing it. So I think what might happen is it starts like accumulating textures. But what you can do is if something weird happens, if you can just go into settings and turn on the debug overlay. I'm going to share this so you can see mine. Are you going to be able to see this? Yeah, like over here, I've got like metal textures captured is on there. You're not going to be able to see it because it's the resolution's not going to be there. But there's a little bit of debugging information for me here that tells me like how many metal textures were captured and what's going on there. If you see anything weird, send me a screenshot, but also try and like share that debug overlay just so I can see like, was that related to these kind of spawning of buffers, or is it actually just something else completely? So that's something I've spent a few hours on today, and I think it's pretty good. It's looking pretty good to me. So where is my? Has Ecamm created another program view? It keeps just spawning these program views. So they're the main 3 things, and I just wanted to sort of get because I noticed that people were asking questions and there were fixes, but I hadn't actually pushed them yet. And part of the reason I hadn't pushed them was because I was halfway through a couple of things like the stroke mirroring and the other thing I meant, the connection confirmation. So I just wasn't quite ready to push a build. But then, people were being stuck with like the navigation that shows up on Video Pencil when you're using BeatSheet now. And I'd added a button to make it so that you could hide that, but like that wasn't in the test flight build yet. But so all the builds are up to date as of today. And one of the reasons for that is just like, I'm trying to figure out how to get a little bit of space. I'll talk about this in a minute. But anyway, I thought next I'd do a little bit of a quick Edinburgh review. I'm back in London. You see, I'm like mucking about with a new back. I'll tell you about that in a sec as well. But yeah, we're a month in an Airbnb. It was good. Met lots of really friendly people. I joined some organisations. I went to a party last week. I met someone who runs like a video production company. I met, lots of local sort of creatives and like artistic people. And I just generally, joined a gym, worked out a lot. Like this was, I think, yeah, like in terms of doing things, I did try to make sure I was making the most of it, and I really feel I did. And then, a couple of things I was worried about with the city was like, are there ever going to be those nice sunny days you get in London? Yes, there were. There were lots of nice sunny. I actually got some sunburn, so like, that was quite nice. And I was also relieved it didn't feel. I was a bit worried it was going to feel a bit provincial. After London for 20 years, that it was going to feel like people were going to just say casually racist stuff or something, and I'd be like, because I was a bit worried about the diversity and stuff, but like it actually seems pretty solid, and in fact they're pretty progressive, so I was quite happy about that. But unfortunately, we still don't know when we're going to be able to move, but we've got a bit of progress on that, so I don't know, like hopefully we'll know in September. But yeah, like, so that was a month, but also like, it was quite funny, like it's hilly. So I got an alert today, which said, your daily average has changed. Should I just make that big? Yeah. Like, apparently my, average calorie burn, like active calories per day went up from 594 to 815 while I was there. Lots of, going up hills. A side doesn't work with full screen images anymore. That's what's happening there. Lots of going up hills, lots of running up hills. I did some park runs. I got from, I improved my thing there. Anyway, so I got back on Monday. And then yesterday was technically my do some art day. But I just ended up coming into this room and just being like, I don't feel creative in here. I'm sick of the layout of this room. So I tried a new layout for this little office room I've got, and one of the things I did was I've put my camera into log mode and trying out LUTs, and I know Rob I'm gonna get some help getting my own custom LUT, but I've been experimenting with lighting and sort of like organization, so it's not. I don't quite know what that LUT needs to be yet, but I found some sort of general ones. But I thought like maybe one day if I did have a nice background behind me, it would be nice to be able to see me and, something nice. So I just thought I wanted to sort of face my camera towards the window and see how that feels. And yeah, just as part of that, I ended up rearranging some gear. So maybe I'll sort of take you a little. I'll show you like what I ended up doing was. Here's what it looks like. And let me just bring that ISO up a bit. So my desk is sort of facing away, but so I made it so there's like a corridor to get in. So like I have to walk around the desk to get in, but then it's a lot more of an open space once I am in. Like I feel like I can breathe in here more. And I just sort of put all the music stuff up again. I put this up high so it would look good like behind me. I've got some music gear here. It doesn't feel like it's sort of in the wrong place anymore. And just I've been watching some feng shui videos on YouTube, and they always say about the command position. like put your desk somewhere where I've just turned off the phone, so annoying with Shoot sometimes. Sort of like make it so you're sort of looking out into the room with your desk. So I thought, well, maybe I'll just try that. So even if I've compromised on being able to get into the room, but it actually feels quite good once I'm at my desk. Like I can breathe a little bit, which I felt like really kind of up against a wall before. So I don't know. That's just something. That's just a little update on the studio. Next week, my plans. Like one of the reasons I've been on such a crunch the last couple of days is I'm really, really trying to figure out how I'm gonna. Like I feel like I'm sort of pushing things around at the moment and not being very. I'm not getting to that like release. I'm not getting to something I can ship with Beachy Studio, and that's just because I've been a bit muddy, I think. I really pushed to get something out at the end of June, and then I wanted to make the most of being in Edinburgh, but like I do need a little bit of a breather. I sort of want to take a big deep breath, like take 2 or 3, 4 days off, maybe a week, can you imagine, and then just really come back and nail that release of Beachy Studio. But at the moment it's kind of feeling difficult, and I've got this routine of these weekly things, and I've got other commitments as well that are sort of every couple of weeks that are making it very hard to sort of like, but I don't want to break the schedule. And so this is why I put something in the Discord saying like, maybe a guest host would be great, right? Like if I could just sort of like hand the reins over to someone else for a week, like that would be incredible. Like sort of go into after hours, do the lab, and then like here's the keys to the live stream. If you want to live stream it as well, it'd be great if the guests, if a guest host did. But actually, even before that, it made me, and I've had some good volunteers already on this. Just having some guests on here, I think would be quite good, because I'm talking to so many people all the time, and I think it would be quite cool to do a bit of Ecamm interview mode, and actually, like, I can talk to you about, talk to someone about how they're using the apps, how they're using different things, because there's so many different ways people are using this stuff. So so as always, the attempt to make my life easier ends up adding something new to manage. So now I can't really, like, if I'm doing an interview, if I'm having a guest on, then I can't really leave things to the very last minute in the same way. So that sort of sucks and makes that harder. And I think I'm still a way off being able to really have a guest host. So it just means I'm probably going to, I just need to like find a way to make some space, just because we're getting closer to a release. But for Video Pencil, for Beachy Studio, we've got the basic stability. I think is usable. I think it's there. I think we're finding minor showstoppers. I think the showstoppers have dried up a bit, but I think like, in terms of my vision of the usability, I just need to go through each button properly, go through each tab, go through each thing on there, and just like really get my head down and just make sure everything works right. Because a couple of things have slipped through the cracks recently as I've made these design changes, but I know what the design is now. Everything works, it's possible to do everything, and now it's really like fiddling with UX things. And thankfully I've got some help. Like, thank you to Humberto for like his second pull request. I merged that today, and that was the there was, when you dragged a video into a slide, that now feels much better. And I think once Humberto gets up to speed, and once I can really get some, just a little bit of headspace and really focus on that, then the functional part of the app will be on its way to being production ready. But the other part of all this is I've got to make documentation. I've got a website. I've got to make sure that and it was hard to do those things before because the UI wasn't finished. But now that the UI is pretty much stable, I need those videos, and I need to structure that, and I need to figure out how I'm going to approach that, so that when people come to this, that because I'm getting questions like, how do I connect Video Pencil? I'm like, you just pick up your iPad and it's connected, and I'm like, is that not obvious? Is it not working? I need again like a space to just like structure the documentation, structure the video content around that, and that's going to be time consuming in itself, and that's going to delay, I can't really launch with no documentation. So thankfully, Rob Russia, we've been doing our we've been doing our sessions, and that's a really great start. But in terms of like the user guide, that's still very much something that I need to put together. Like there's the text-based, even just having the text-based manual, not even getting into videos. That's just something that needs to be done. I do have. Let me just pull this up. I mean, the main thing I did on the Beatsheet Studio user guide last week, if I can share this. I'll sort of share my desktop. Was because Beatsheet and Beatsheet Studio, they're both coder docs, but I actually wanted to like not have to edit the stuff that relates to both things separately and like copy paste them. So what I did figure out how to do was to like link pages. So here's like the teleprompter page, the triggers page, that will be the same in both documents, which means I can just like edit that in if I edit it in the Beatsheet manual, then it will show up in the in the other manual as well. So but yeah, like Beatsheet Studio user guide, has it got any stuff yet? It does not, and that's going to be a project. So yeah, I'm just I'm trying to figure out how the heck I'm gonna. First, I'm trying to figure out why Ecamm Live keeps spawning a program window anytime I sort of do anything. That's weird. We're going to get to launch. We're going to get to launch, but I just need to like step back, take a deep breath, have a few days off somehow, even though I've just got too many commitments to really do that at the moment. Have some break so that I can really like come at this like a train, because I feel like I'm sort of like cycling uphill with it at the moment, just because I've just been pushing it pretty hard. So anyway, that's just an update on all that. I don't see any questions or comments. If you do have anything, now is your last chance. I need a good sign off. I think I'm going to wind this down. Just remember, we've got the Discord. Please, if you see someone ask a question, feel free to jump in and help them, because like it's I'm trying to kind of like, I respond to things when I can, but I'm asleep at the time that people start asking. I'm sort of leaving the office as people start to ask questions in the US. So like, if you do see someone asking something that's pretty easy, please do jump in. Like, just you just do this, and that would again. I've got so much to do. It's like the emails and the Discord and all that stuff. It sort of ends up. Some days it's like 4 hours just getting through email and Discord stuff, let alone actually being able to fix a bug. Sorry if this is down. I am pretty exhausted. You can see, look, I look horrible. I'm pretty exhausted, and I'm just waiting for. I just need a little bit of, a little bit of a breather, and then we're going to just like nail this thing. We're going to get this launch out, but it's such a big project, and there's so many nooks and crannies, and I just need that sort of here's how you do it. But yeah, that's I guess that's it for this week. I see John on your camera. Hi, thanks for saying hi. Lots of thumbs up coming through Zoom, which is always reassuring when there's no one watching. I didn't send an email out this week because I just didn't really feel I had an amazing amount of content. Hey, more thumbs up. Thanks, Robert. And I see some claps. I do appreciate this Zoom people. I really appreciate the support. Honestly, like, they're great problems to have. Like, too many good bug reports and feature ideas. They're really good problems to have. It's just like, it's time. I just need a little, and then we'll get this done. We'll get this done. But I'm really feeling pleased with how how the stability and performance and the general, reliability is feeling now. Because that's always been my biggest fear. So I don't think we've got any showstoppers. I think we're more on the just usability issues now. Hope. Fingers crossed. So thank you so much for everyone. Now, which order do I quit this? My preview went. Let's go over here. Which order do I end things? Do I leave the Zoom room first, or do I finish the live stream? Or if I need a button where I can exit both simultaneously. New idea for BG. Right, thanks so much, everyone, for all of your support, for all of your constant suggestions, input, thumbsing ups, emails. We're going to get this out. We're going to get this new thing out. It's going to bring everything together. This is the Squares TV unifying theory of everything, and everything's going to be wonderful. But yeah, it's a lot. So, all right. Take care, everyone. Should I play us out? No, maybe I'll play out the YouTube. I'm not going to play us out. I'm just going to say bye. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.